The movie starts with a young woman named Frida, who dreams of being a nail artist creating animal-themed designs. But for now, she works as a waitress. She shares pictures of her nail art on social media. And one day, she finds an interview with Slater King, a billionaire tech leader. In the interview, Slater apologizes for unknown mistakes and says he's quitting as CEO of his company. He also shares that he bought an island where he grows his own food and raises chickens. The story shows that Frida has a crush on Slater and starts searching for more about him online. Frustrated with her boring life, she says she really needs a vacation. A few days later, she and her roommate Jess go to Slater's big annual gala, working as waitresses. Frida's boss reminds her about last year's event, where she tried to talk to Slater. She apologizes, explaining that he complimented her nails, but her boss warns her to stay out of sight this time. Frida and Jess are amazed by the fancy event, with rich guests dressed in their best outfits. While working, Frida steals a few looks at Slater. Later, Jess takes her to the locker room, revealing 2 party dresses she smuggled in for them. They change and begin wandering around the party, blending in with the VIP guests. Frida sees Slater in the distance and walks toward him, but she accidentally bumps into a waiter and falls. In that awkward moment, Slater offers his hand to help her up. After they introduce themselves, Slater starts introducing her around, starting with his therapist, Dr. Rich. Frida jokes that Dr. Rich should blink twice if she's in danger, and he does, making them all laugh. Slater then introduces her to his group, his childhood friend Cody, security guard Stan, right-hand man Vic, and friends Heather and Camilla. There's also Lucas, a recent graduate, DJ Tom, and reality TV star Sarah. After that, Frida's night turns into a fun blur of laughter and drinks, thrilled to spend time with her crush. But soon, Slater's assistant, Stacy, shows up and says it's time to head to the island. Frida and Slater say their goodbyes, and he leaves. As Frida talks to Jess about the night, Slater suddenly returns and invites them to join him on the island. They eagerly accept. In the next scene, the whole group, except Dr. Rich, boards a private jet and flies to the island. When they arrive, Frida is stunned by how luxurious the place is. Stacy arrives to collect everyone's phones to ensure their vacation is work-free. Everyone agrees quickly, though Jess hesitates before handing hers over. Slater then shows Frida to her room, where she finds a wardrobe full of clothes ready for her. After Slater leaves, Frida showers and applies a fancy perfume she finds in the room. Just as she's about to change, an old maid enters and strangely calls her Red Rabbit, looking like she recognizes her. Confused, Frida asks what it means, but the maid leaves without answering. Later, Frida meets Jess outside, who's surprised that they have clothes, especially since they were invited so last minute. Frida shrugs it off as just part of being rich. They soon meet the other girls, all dressed in similar outfits. None of them think it's odd, and they head over to join the men at the pool. Frida and Slater keep exchanging glances, but then Sarah tries to flirt with him. However, Slater doesn't seem interested in her and keeps his eyes on Frida. Afterward, Slater takes Frida on a tour and shows her a rare flower called Desideria used to make their perfume. He also mentions the island has a lash viper problem that workers are trying to fix. Slater then shares something personal, revealing he remembers very little about his life before age 10. That's why he sees Dr. Rich, who helps with repressed memories. Frida thinks it's odd, but Slater says sometimes forgetting is a blessing. During their tour, they run into Stacy, who is carrying several red gift bags. Later that night, everyone gathers in the candlelit dining room since the generator is down. During dinner, Frida accidentally stains her dress. Vic, Slater's right-hand man, asks what she does, and she replies that she's still figuring it out. It's revealed that Vic is missing a pinky finger, and Slater jokingly asks how he lost it, but Vic stays silent. Instead, he pulls out a small bottle of MDMA drugs. After taking it, the group feels a wave of euphoria, laughing, and having a great time. Everything seems fine, but when Frida goes to bed, she notices the stain on her dress is gone. She finds it odd, but brushes it off. Over the next few days, they enjoy endless champagne, swim in the pool by day, and have gourmet dinners with drugs at night. One night, Slater sees a scar near Frida's eye and asks how she got it, but she says she doesn't know. He then asks about her nails, and Frida explains her small brand, animals, a mix of the words animal and nails. He seems satisfied with her answer, but suddenly excuses himself, leaving in a rush and forgetting his vaporizer. Later, as Frida looks at the vaporizer, she's shocked to see dirt under her fingernails. The next morning, as Frida returns the vaporizer, she sees Slater finishing his therapy session with Dr. Rich. She greets the doctor, reminding him of their introduction at the gala and the blinking joke. He nervously agrees before hurrying out of the mansion with a red gift bag. One night, everyone is dancing and having fun when a scream breaks out. Jess has been bitten by a snake. Slater quickly kills the snake with a bottle and reassures her that the venom isn't deadly. Jess suddenly panics and leaves the party. When Frida checks on her, Jess demands her phone and says she wants to leave. She insists something weird is going on and that the people there are strange. But Frida refuses to leave, saying this is the first time she doesn't feel invisible and it's the vacation they always dreamed of. Jess eventually agrees to stay. Later, while alone, Jess suddenly gets a nosebleed. The next morning, Frida showers and uses the same perfume. While walking, she spots a red bag on the floor in front of a room. Curious, she enters and finds many more red bags inside. The old maid suddenly appears, calling Frida Red Rabbit again, and hands her a strange green liquid. Frida takes a sip without thinking, but the maid points to snake remains, revealing it's venom from the snakes they caught. Frida panics and quickly leaves the room. In the next scene, Frida has a strange dream where Jess gives her a knife and asks her to hide it. When she wakes up, she feels sick, and Sarah takes notice. Lucas shows up with a bruise on his eye, but no one pays attention, just like no one seems to notice Jess is missing. After breakfast, the men eagerly head out to fish, while the girls stay back. One girl pulls out Jess's lighter, and Frida asks about her. Shockingly, none of them remember or recognize anyone named Jess. Frida, now worried, hurries to Jess's room, but finds the furniture stacked like she was never there. She returns to her own room and finds a knife hidden behind the mirror. At that moment, Sarah shows up holding Jess's lighter. Frida insists that Jess was there, but Sarah claims she'd remember if someone else had been around. Frida mentions the strange things happening, like waking up with dirt under her nails. Sarah then reveals a bruise on her arm, but has no clue how she got it. Sarah confesses she only knows Cody, who invited her to the island after meeting at a coffee shop. They both realize the men are somehow messing with their minds. Frida then remembers Slater saying that forgetting can be a gift. They then enter the room with the red bags and suspect the perfume contains something that makes them forget. Frida adds that she began remembering things after drinking the snake venom from the maid. Soon, Frida finds more venom in the room and gives it to Sarah to try. They mix the venom with tequila and give it to Heather and Camilla, hoping it will help them remember too. Stacy joins them, drinks some as well, and then tells the girls that the men will be back soon. Realizing that time is running out, Frida searches for the phones inside, asking Sarah to warn her if the men return. Soon, Sarah gets a nosebleed, just like Jess before she vanished. When the men arrive, Slater asks about Frida, and Sarah replies that she's freshening up in her room. Meanwhile, Frida sneaks into Slater's villa and breaks into a locked cupboard, finding the cell phones. Hearing Sarah yell, she quickly hides them. Just then, a box falls, and Frida is shocked to discover Polaroid photos of different people holding red bags. Moments later, Slater enters the room to grab liquid for his vape, unaware that Frida is hiding under the desk. Suddenly, the snake venom affects her, causing a nosebleed and triggering memories of her and the other women, bound and terrified as the men tortured them. It turns out the snake venom had made Jess remember everything, so Slater ordered Stan to kill her. Frida, shocked, runs away while Slater is distracted. She finds Sarah and tells her what really happened to Jess. Fearing they'll meet the same fate, Frida and Sarah decide to act normal until Heather and Camilla regain their memories. That night at dinner, Frida's memories return, and she realizes the men have been assaulting them nightly and using the perfume to erase their memories. It turns out that Lucas was against it, but the other men pressured him to join, telling him to grow up. Frida also remembers Dr. Rich recently assaulting her and how nervous he was that she'd recall it. Slater reassured him, saying the worse the incident, the more they forget. This explains why the creepy doctor was so nervous when she recognized him a few days ago. Now, the disturbing memory, makes it hard for Frida and Sarah to act normal. But Frida gathers her courage and starts dancing, with Sarah soon joining her. The others join in, and the night seems like another fun party. Suddenly, a scream rings out. It's Camilla, who has remembered everything. In a furious rage, she stabs Tom repeatedly, killing him until Slater steps in to restrain her. Heather's memories also return at this point, and she chases after Vic. Inside, Sarah stabs Cody's hand and tries to attack him again, but he gets away. Meanwhile, Heather catches up to Vic and smashes him with a chessboard. She ends up smashing his face, but the security guard, Stan, shoots her dead. Spotting Frida in the distance, Stan starts chasing after her. She runs into the woods, but Stan catches up and aims to shoot. Luckily, Sarah hits him from behind with a large rock, killing him after multiple blows. Meanwhile, Slater drags the badly injured Vic and a tied-up Camilla into his private villa. Lucas, who's been using the perfume like the girls, is confused and panics. Slater ignores him and steps on Camilla's neck, suffocating her to death. Meanwhile, Frida searches for a knife in her room when a distressed Stacy shows up. She realizes Stacy's memories have returned, but unlike the others, Stacy chooses to use the perfume. She angrily tells Frida that forgetting is a gift and blames her for making her remember the painful events. In the struggle, Frida fights back and fatally stabs Stacy in the chest. Meanwhile, Cody searches for the girls under Slater's orders, but Sarah shoots him dead. Lucas, still confused, can't understand why the girls are acting this way. On the other hand, Sarah reunites with Frida, who discovers a Polaroid of herself from a year ago, revealing she's been there before. Shocked, they arm themselves with a knife and gun, ready to confront their tormentors. Soon, they reach Slater's villa and demand he open the door. He refuses, but Lucas opens it and is instantly shot by Sarah. Slater takes the chance to subdue Frida and locks the door. She tries to grab something to attack, but he overpowers her. Frida then flashes back to a year ago when she tried to escape. She fell on a rock, leaving the scar on her face. That day, her nails were painted with a red rabbit design. She also remembers that she was the one who bit off Vic's pinky. In the present, Slater, with Frida tied up, tells her that people would be free from pain if they could forget their traumas. He urges her to join him, use the perfume, and leave it all behind. As he continues talking, Frida quietly uses a glass shard to free herself. Meanwhile, Sarah shoots at the door, but quickly runs out of bullets. Slater drags her into the room, only to find Frida, now free, holding a knife. Slater confidently takes Frida's knife, and she fears he'll kill her, but the billionaire says he won't because she's his best friend. After inhaling from his vape, he moves to finish Sarah off, but suddenly becomes disoriented, unsure of what he's doing or what's happening. It turns out that while he was outside, Frida had secretly infused Slater's vape with his own perfume, causing him to collapse. He knocks over candles, worsening the fire, and soon the villa is in flames. Frida leaves Vic to die in the burning room. Outside, Sarah hopes Frida knows what she's doing. As the camera pans out, we see that Frida also saved Slater from the burning villa. In the final scene, sometime later, Slater's company is hosting another gala. He is approached by Dr. Rich, asking for a private meeting to discuss something, but Slater seems confused and disoriented. Frida steps in, telling the doctor that Slater isn't available. It's revealed she is now married to Slater, and Dr. Rich grows anxious when she mentions she remembers him. As the movie ends, the host introduces Frida as the new CEO of the company. Meanwhile, she continues drugging Slater's vape to keep him confused and under control. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this.